After a 3-year campaign, a group of non-conforming families changed the law in the United Kingdom.
We're going to do what we can to create a solution that is in balance with the earth.
Living in an eco-village amidst the fertile Welsh landscape is a community who use alternative methods to eat, live, and parent.
There's probably a population of about 50 adults plus kids.
After visiting off-grid settlements around Europe, Lammas Village was built utilizing their own economy that they created,
whereby people can buy pieces of land and build sustainable off-grid small holdings from scratch.
all in the pursuit of setting a realistic example for future renewable developments.
It's actually about returning back to what is natural and pure.
This is Lammas Village's vision for the future, inspired by the past.
In a move we'd anticipated for years, we finally left America and set out over the pond.
Which was where our problems began.
Welcome to Harris's Cabby.
This is way sketchier than I thought. Because we'd have to learn to drive on the left side of the road.
Why does this person go in the wrong way?
No, they go that way.
In a manual transmission car that we were completely unfamiliar with. Somehow, 6 hours later, we made it to Wales.
No problem. Our first stop was to meet Sue, who at one point owned the land that is now Lammas Village.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are
Thank you for having us.
You might have to go on the other side of the...
While we set up our conversation outside, Sue brewed us a cuppa.
Should I play my flute? To cheer him up.
Before 2009, this 200-acre plot was, per Welsh tradition, farmland. How are you here and you've separated yourself from the community that's just up the hill?
I got divorced from the man I was married to, and so we needed to split the property, so I knew I had to sell the land. And I thought, I don't want to sell it to a cow farmer because they smell horrible. They mix cow...
Fair reason.
It's horrible, and also they ruin the land.
Fortunately for Sue and the land, a 3-year political process to build a Welsh eco-village had just been approved. But they didn't have any land.
So I looked in the paper just accidentally, and it said we need 200 acres, which was the number I had, 200 acres, for an eco-village. I went, yeah, because, isn't that perfect?
So
It's their land.
do you feel like you got a good deal?
I got a rotten financial deal, but the planning is all based on environment and growing your food and not making your money outside the community, but on your plot.
Can you tell me about the relations between the surrounding community and Lammas?
Oh God, must I? When we first got here, we had a letter warning us to be out by the 1st of March because they were going to set fire to the house.
What is it? Why is there a problem with people coming in and living sustainably like this?
Ruining the Welsh culture.
So you're the ultimate
We are the nightmare.
pity of a counterculture.
Afraid so. And we've taken over.
The visionary that brokered the plan and began the takeover was Tao Wimbush, who graciously took us into his homestead.
Hey,
Ciao.
welcome.
Great to meet you. Thanks for having us in your place.
Welcome to the Wild West and a bit of Welsh weather for you.
Yes, there we go. Here you practice low impact living.
It's something in between living a modern lifestyle and kind of living close to the earth. So this is the polytunnel. So I've got lots of growing spaces here, and this is kind of one of my most intensive growing spaces. This is where we grow crops all year round, but it's also a space to chill out because it's not just about growing food, it's also about
Hanging out.
nurturing people.
This can be described as permaculture, the intentional use of agricultural design to establish a self-sustaining lifestyle.
Let me use this as an example. The statue acts as a heat reservoir that's south facing. When the sun shines on it, the statue absorbs the heat and then slowly releases that through the night. Yes, it's a pond, but it's also a habitat for frogs and toads. Because if I didn't have this, I'd have to come out at night and pick off the slugs and the snails.
The statue absorbs heat throughout the day, which prevents the pond from freezing at night. This protects the toads who stop slugs from destroying Tao's crops, like the plentiful grapes above our heads.
So this produces buckets and buckets of grapes, which we eat and turn into wine.
This entire landscape has seen a massive rebirth. They have rerouted waterways to better retain moisture for sustainable farming, built homes out of recycled and locally found materials, and engineered building practices that follow low-impact development.
And in a way, this is an expression of a middle ground, in that I have the elements of rootedness and connectedness to the landscape and to the ancestors, but I also have Wi-Fi and laptops so that I can still relate to the mainstream and still be part of the mainstream.
I mean, is this way of life more inviting for the masses?
Yes. Well, I don't know about for the masses. It's certainly calling more and more people.
One of these mainstream converts is Tao's wife, Hoppy.
So how about have a cup of tea?
Let's have a cup of tea. Yeah.
See, my grandmother, who was Welsh, only ever drank tea. Nothing else.
Water just didn't
Nope.
exist?
Nope. Nothing else. Tea.
Here's to tea with Polly's milk. Polly is Tao and Hoppy's goat, who graciously gave us her milk. But she was just one of the many animals who contribute.
So we have dogs, they pull the cart. We've got doves, food for the soul. Then we've got our goats. We've got ducks, and we've got our fish, and then we've got our geese.
And then
I have a dog, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So you two, you've been here a while. What's your story?
Well, this caveman brought me out to the Wild West, dragged me by my hair out here, clonked me on the head, and then propped me up and threw me in the mud, and that was that, really.
Jeez, how romantic. A story with a beginning like that is gonna need a little history. With Chris.
Tao grew up like many in the Welsh suburbs, but by the time he was a teenager, he lived an Iron Age hermit lifestyle, alone in the middle of the woods. All the while, Hoppy was, well, a bit more conventional.
I am a modern woman. I want to have my blender and my kitchen maker. I want to have all these mod cons. And when I met this one, he was living in a teepee, literally like wrapped with baler twine and sackcloth. I'm not kidding.
As the two fell in love, Tao and Hoppy had a dream to create a different way to live, a way that they thought would save the planet, a way that could set an example for others. They managed to recruit 20 other families interested in a project like this. The first thing they needed was land to build on. That's, of course, where Sue came in. Then the problems began. Not because of Sue, but because, well, building an off-grid homestead here was illegal. So they went to work to change the law.
The paperwork involved is simply huge. We're talking an application in excess of 5,000 pages here.
Another problem was that longtime locals envisioned a band of hippies infiltrating their quaint neighborhoods, bringing with an insurgent ideology.
A dream has attempted to be imposed on an unwilling community in an unsuitable site.
In Wales, sheep outnumber humans 4-1, which highlights that the livestock industry has been the status quo for generations.
It seems to me the status quo has always resisted the alternative world because it represents something that is fundamentally threatening to the status quo. It's always been sidelined, it's always been ridiculed, it's always been portrayed as fringe and wacky and dangerous and illegal.
But fortunately for this grassroots effort,
we got a lucky break.
Wales had just passed the One Planet policy, which allowed, even embraced, off-grid living. But they didn't make it easy.
To get planning permission, Lammas needs to demonstrate that the people are working the land and meeting at least 3/4 of their needs directly from the land.
Quite nervous. First time I've worn a suit ever. I would like to just welcome all the local people who are opposed to the project to give us a chance, and particularly the kids, just give them a chance. And 4 weeks later, we'll hear whether we've got it or not. And yeah, here's hoping.
Accordingly, I find justification sufficient to grant planning permission.
The Lammas families, that now means that we can move forwards.
which turns out was the easy part. Within a year, Lammas Village had several small holdings completely built from natural materials like lumber and hay that they had scavenged from their own land. The wood used are of whole tree trunks rather than cut planks. The floors are made from salvaged pallets, and the roofs are turfed with grass to minimize heat loss, absorb the 70 inches of annual rainfall, and, possibly most important, connect the home with the landscape. The first 9 homes were built for less than 14,000 euros.
You know, you're no longer reliant on supermarkets or mainstream utilities to meet your needs, and that's an incredible kind of process.
You know, here I am living completely off grid. I've got a washing machine, we've got power tools, we've got fridge, freezer, I've got, you know, all my mod cons in the kitchen.
So you've brought him up to speed?
Well, I feel like we've kind of both gone like that.
Okay, so it's like the olden times and the modern times.
We've met in the middle, yeah.
Once our tea ran cold and the skies cleared, we prepped for the fields.
So I've kind of had to learn all these skills from the scratch. This is it's a staple crop from South America, but it's kind of like a cross between a cucumber and a melon. So look at that, hey? Oh, yeah, I love it here, I love it.
What's the best part?
The roots, the land's like really alive with the ancestors still.
These roots here?
Yeah.
How much of your food comes from what you grow?
It's about 65-70% of our own food is from the plot. Everyone likes bananas, everyone likes chocolate. Some things we just can't grow. Mm-hmm. But you know, most of our veg, most of our fruit, our dairy and our meat come from the plot here.
The village is legally committed to produce all of their own energy via solar and hydroelectricity. They must also collect their own water and manage their waste. You can build a straw bale house, a roundhouse, an earth chip, but you have 5 years to meet the self-sustainable guidelines. So there are a lot of hoops that you have to jump through if you want to live off the grid, if you want to work against standard society. They make it kind of hard here.
Yeah, but I guess I see it as part of the kind of stepping stone as society makes its transition from mainstream capitalist consumerism to a kind of more sustainable land-based balance. I think we're done. I think that's it.
That's a great deal of food right here.
That's quite good, isn't it? We'll leave that there for now. Let's go and feed these leaves to the goats.
Feed the leaves to the goats?
Yeah.
You know, we've been to the Earthship community in Taos.
Yeah.
Structure like an Earthship work out here?
No. Our kind of background environment is so different. We've got the opposite problem. We've got so much rain.
So you have to have structures that are very specific for your environment here.
Yeah, it's just different kind of context. Cool, should we go and wash up?
Yeah. After a successful harvest of the yakin roots, we walked into Hoppy as she received a shipment of wood for the winter. I mean, you got a giant pile of wood here. What? For what?
We've got 5 burners, which we need to feed. It's our only heat source. So we don't have central heating or anything like that.
This wood supply should last the Wimbush family a few months. Along with this source of energy, the Lammas Village residents share a hydro generator which is used for additional heating and electricity.
I kind of want my children to grow up with the awareness of green living, but also to be able to integrate. And
do you feel like they grew up faster because of the way they lived growing up?
No, I think it's the reverse. I think they were able to be children for longer, to be able to create and play and get a really solid sense of self. Oh my God, I love that stack.
Oh,
so pleased with that.
That's a shed full of wood if I've ever seen one. While many dream of living in a home like this, the amount of maintenance seems to be a full-time job.
From a lot of people's perspective, there are things about my lifestyle that are just a bit too hardcore, like an outdoor compost toilet, or a shower in the barn, or no central heating, or having to go out and pick my vegetables before I cook them.
You know, maybe you work for yourself, but where do you get money?
Most people who embark on this lifestyle have a little bit of income on the side, a little bit of part-time work, So for me, I help people with the permits and the permissions. I help people with planning applications, and I do that maybe 1-2 days a week. And here in the Eco-Village, we've got people doing all sorts of things. Got nurses and mechanics, because it's also good to contribute. It's healthy to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big jump, to sell your land, change your life, uproot where you live.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest obstacles in here, the biggest obstacles like here.
Yeah.
Even daring to dream about it.
Well, I got my last bean shucked here.
Great. Good.
Tao and I successfully checked another box on the day's to-do list. We're curious what interests you the most. Is it living off-grid, being self-sustainable? Maybe you're anti-government. Let us know what you think is most important and why in the comments. It was now time to be healed by Hoppy in our not-so-typical sound studio.
Wow. I know. You may go into a very, very deep state, an altered state of consciousness, and look down into yourself.
The off-grid, self-reliant movement has become increasingly attractive to many. Societal factors have forced many out of conventional homes, but have convinced many more. While only 250,000 Americans live off-grid today, saving an average of $2,200 a year on utilities, the financial incentive grows stronger every day. However, what prevents many, Harris and myself included, is that we'd have to leave the city.
Welcome back. Take your time. Your body is made of like 70% water. So you've just been absorbing all of these frequencies, and there's going to be a shift.
This whole left side of the road thing? Gone.
You might have just saved 4 lives.
We had all been healed, and at this point it was time for the last task of the day. So this is the milking station?
No, that's our shower.
This place has a shower. Our bougie little Airbnb, no shower.
So this is Polly. These are her udders here. Let me just...
Whoa.
Go on then.
Well, here we go, Polly.
It's just like riding a bike. Once you've figured it, you're there. Doing pretty good. You're getting milk out.
Oh, yeah. This is kind of exciting. So how often are you doing this?
So I'm milking every day. Or humans have been milking about the same amount of time we've been growing grain. It's 10,000 years or so we've been eating grains and drinking milk. Like the pasteurised stuff that you'll buy in the store, it will have basically been boiled to death. So this is quite a different entity. It's like an all-round food in a way.
Oh, I mean, that brings up a good point. Like, do you feel like the eating that you have here is a little more holistic, a little cleaner than
Totally.
store-bought Tesco hot dogs in a can?
Totally. I'm normally harvesting from the garden and then eating it within half an hour or so. I tell you what, if you look up there, you'll see some of my food in store. So you see some of my pumpkins and my garlic.
That's just for the winter.
That's for the winter. So that's just kind of one of the places, and then I've got a freezer full of meat, and yeah, they just get stored in different places. I reckon for the first time, you've done really well.
I got my right hand down.
Okay, do you mind if I take over and finish now?
Oh, please do.
And it's not got quite the same glamour as, say, a city life with cinemas and fast food, but it's got kind of a different kind of glamour when I come out at night and see the stars shining above me. When I'm kind of just in the barn with my friends.
Well, you've got it made.
I feel really lucky. Whilst it's not portrayed as glamorous or sexy or anything like that, it's fulfilling in a really deep way.
And with that, we couldn't help but think back to all of our conversations where he and Hoppy referenced their ideas for the future.
And in many ways, there's no need for us to be squished into cities. It makes much more sense to have people distributed in the landscape where they can draw their resources from their locality And then you don't need these huge fuel consumption in order to ship everything in and ship everything out. So part of it's about just reimagining a different world.
While interest in off-grid sustainable living may be growing, the reality is that the price of entry into a place like Lammas Village is only growing.
It wasn't quite my vision. I wanted to liberate all the land so that everyone could have a nice house in the country because what they paid was 35,000 per plot. And now it's worth 350,000 per plot when they're selling on.
We hope you enjoyed this video. We're sure some of you have more questions about this eco-village. Maybe you have questions directed towards Tau and Hoppy. Let us know what you're curious about in the comments. We'll try our best to answer everything you've got.
More practice.